Today, we're not going to get to know just one person. We're going to get to know an entire generation, Generation Alpha. Now, this is so important to know about this generation. If you're a children's author, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, librarian, and we are going to go right down into the depths of what Generation Alpha is thinking. These are the kids that are in primary school right now. And the guide us through is going to be amazing children's author and teacher librarian, Allison Paterson. Allison is an amazing lady. She's full bottle on everything Generation Alpha, and she attended a online conference which was called Education Future Forum, A Clearer Picture of Education, and that was held back in April. So stick with me. Let's get to know Generation Alpha with Allison Paterson. Allison Paterson, welcome to my little show. How are you?
I'm so well, Josh, and thanks for inviting me to your little show. It's very, very exciting.
Well, I want to pick your brain. Actually, we're going to have a conversation about a really, really important topic, and I think this is relevant for a lot of kids authors, also a lot of parents, educators out there. We're going to talk about Generation Alpha. That's the new generation of kids born between 2010 and 2025. And they're the ones in a primary school at the moment. They're the ones that sort of we're talking to as kids authors. And there's some fascinating research done on them by the McCrindle report. That's Mark McCrindle and I've got to remember the other lady's name, Allison. Can you remember?
You're asking the wrong person if you're looking for someone to remember a name. It's just not going to happen.
I love the honesty with this. This is fantastic. This is what I love.
Don't
I've
even
got
try. It's that
No,
person.
Ashley Fell. Ashley Fell. So Mark
See,
McCrindle and Ashley Fell, part of the McCrindle report, they together, they do all the research, and then so they've done the report on Generation Alpha, and you also went or sat on the virtual conference, which was, I think that was called Education Future Forum, A Clearer Picture of Education, and that was held back in April, wasn't it?
Yes, I think that was April.
Okay.
And you're right. Yes, I did sit on in that conference, and it was quite fascinating, really interesting, and looked at the research they'd done, looking at parents and what their opinions were, and also teachers and what their opinions were on what was happening with our little Generation Alpha, who are the kids that are learning to read right now. So very, very important for us to be aware of them as authors.
So what are the key characteristics of Generation Alpha? What defines them?
Well, they're the kids that have been brought up with devices in their hands, and they're the first generation to have been born in our new century. So hence that's why Mark McCrindle coined the term Generation Alpha. And they're our 10-year-olds right now, so primary school age children, and they have been brought up in the age of the iPad. So 2010 was when the iPad was first released. That same year, Instagram became a thing, and the word app became a word, and we all started using that. Yeah. So this generation are fully tech literate. They have been swiping and tapping and doing all of that since before they had a mastery of our language. So keep that in mind when we're talking about children today, because they have a different set of skills, and their brains are going to be slightly different to how our brains are wired. So their wiring is going to have changed a little bit. They're getting information in different ways to how we as adults used to get it, and it's coming in short, sharp bursts, and that is not always a good thing, but it's something we need to be aware of. So some key characteristics for you there, Josh.
Thank you, Allison. I was going to say, so how do they like to learn then? Is it learning through the iPad, or is it, as you said, short, sharp things? Is that how they like to learn? Is it that set in stone?
Look, all kids will learn in different ways, and I think that's a really important thing to remember. Some kids will like to learn face to face. Some kids like a more structured approach. Some kids will be more flexible. That's an ingrained thing that's just a personality trait right from the start. But we've now got this layer of technology that that is over above all of that as well. And so, yes, they are the kids that will have shorter attention spans because they are used to those bursts of information. And so therefore we need to adjust to that as teachers. I was a teacher for 30
you're teacher
something
librarian,
years.
am I right? Yep.
Yeah, I started as a primary school teacher and then did some curriculum and administration at the same time as sort of meddling in being a teacher librarian. And then eventually that's what I moved into because that was my very favourite thing, hanging out with books and kids all day. It was a pretty good job.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, there's certainly their attention spans will have changed. How they like to learn, I think it's more multimodal. So learning with visual, learning with text, learning with auditory. So more game-based learning potentially as well. And things backed up by audio visual. As soon as you put that screen there, you've got their attention. But otherwise you do need to work for it. And I know going into schools, and I'm going to ask you this question in a minute, how have you found that? I need to work a little bit harder. When I go in and do my presentations with this age group, you need to make sure you're working hard all the time and keeping that interest really, really strong as you present to the kids.
Yep.
How have you found that, Josh? Have you discovered that
most definitely. Mind you, when I first started doing the school incursions about 4 years ago, I had the help of a neighbour of mine who was a school teacher, primary school teacher, and she said, look, these kids, you really have to engage them in many different ways. The old idea of just sitting in a chair up the front and reading from your book doesn't cut it anymore. The kids are yawning, they're tired, they're whatever. Also, it turns on the age of the kids, whether they're in year 1 or year 6. But she said, you need to mix it up. You got to have engaging storytelling. You've got to be asking questions. You've got to have a visual presentation, and you have got to have interaction as well. And so she helped me mix all that up into a dynamic presentation. And obviously, over the last 4 years, I've adapted it and changed it. But I've noticed that you really do have to keep the kids engaged to stop them from being bored. Whereas I remember when, 100,000 years ago when I was a child, Allison, that really it was just, you get a person who would come in, they'd read their book and would sit there and go, oh, yeah. But now you really have to work for it. And I think a lot of kids authors doing in-school presentations would actually relate to that. You've got to have your PowerPoint. You've got to have all your questions. You've got to have an interaction. You've got to have an activity, because I have an activity base with mine where I get kids. What's the dog's name?
This is Annie. Annie is the best dog I have ever had, Josh. She is just the most gorgeous dog. She always does what she's told.
Really? Does she talk?
Yeah, she talks, but not today. Yeah, she lost her voice.
I've been trying to get a giraffe that I could use as a prop for Graham the giraffe, and I haven't found one yet. And now that I'm going to be doing school visits again next month, which I'm really, really looking forward to. So I'm trying to find a giraffe, but that's part of that interaction thing you've got to be doing. And and I suppose the attention span of these kids is yes, it's very short. I mean, the younger ones, it's not too bad, but the year 5s and the 6s, they get bored really quickly. If they're not engaged or you're not asking questions or whatever, you've lost them. So you really have to bring them back constantly. And so you have to be on the ball there.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So there are some changes, and you know what? We don't want to be scared by any of this, because I think sometimes people get a little bit alarmist about the tech kids, Generation Alpha. Every generation has had its thing that the prior generation or few generations before, like us, I go, oh my gosh, that's so bad. Where is it going to lead us? It only becomes a thing. It only becomes a problem if we allow it to be. So for these kids, there is a risk, I suppose, that they won't deeply engage with text. That's something that I think about a lot as they progress into high school. Will they have that capacity to deeply engage with text? Is that going to remain a necessary thing over time? I don't know. But as teachers, we have a very important role, and parents do have a very important role to keep their kids reading and making sure they do have those skills. So it's not just screen text. It's not just reading a book on a screen. We need to be getting books into the hands of kids, engaging books. So lots of visual content in our books. And Josh, you're awesome at doing that. Short, sharp messages, lots of visuals. Your books hit that mark really beautifully. But also balancing that with more, with texts that are at a deeper level of engagement. So
tells more storytelling,
Yeah, absolutely. They won't ever go away. There'll always be a need for those. And children, those kids who love reading, they will still devour those types of stories. But for kids who need that higher level of engagement, that visual engagement, we need to be ensuring that we're creating books that keep them reading, and make sure that they're entertaining and valuable for them. So
it is finding that balance. And as you said, the text, the screen stuff isn't bad, but what it is just balancing it out with the actual physicality of reading and getting that like a nice little balance. And because someone was saying that, that I can't remember who it was. They were saying that because there's so much screen time, and the way kids communicate, whether they're communicating through Snapchat or WhatsApp or all the other ones, that even the English language for them has changed. They've abbreviated everything. And then everyone's up in arms. Kids don't know how to spell anymore. Kids don't know how to write. They don't know how to. But the English language is changing and adapting to fit with these new models or these new technologies that are emerging. And sometimes it doesn't mean that it's actually wrong. It just means that maybe us old fuddy-duddies need to just go, okay, maybe that's how they communicate in that particular way. As long as they're learning the other way as well, I think that's an okay thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, Josh. And it's not something, like I said before, every generation has had its changes, and it's really important for us old fuddy-duddies to make sure that we're keeping on top of those as well. Otherwise, you do get left behind. And I think it's an important thing for authors as well. And there are lots of lessons, I think, for all of us in this, and me included. There are things that I haven't done yet in terms of adjusting to this that I do need to do, and they're on my list of to-dos. But that's how it is. We all can only do what we can at the time. But I think it's worth thinking about how you as an author can adjust to this new generation. But bearing in mind, Josh, this has been happening for a while now.
Yes,
and publishers
it's been building up to it, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I really feel that what's happened this year with COVID in schools has taken us to a spot where we were heading anyway, potentially, in terms of our use of technology. It's just taken us there so fast that none of us were prepared for this. But look how teachers adapted and adjusted so quickly. My husband's the head of primary at our school here on the Sunshine Coast. And the work they did in the background to get this going for the kids.
I've heard lots of similar stories.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And the dedication of teachers across Australia to achieve this was amazing.
Hats off to every single teacher right across the country. Hats off.
Yeah,
amazing job. Round of applause. Yeah,
absolutely. But as I said, I think it's online learning is something that is here to stay, and that will be our COVID experience. That's what we'll take away from this as educators. And we knew it was there. We were all using it to a degree, but we've also now recognised that this is a very successful way to achieve things that we may not always be able to do, particularly in the frame of individualised learning. So children who might be special needs, or have
Sort of learning
difficulty in
difficulties and stuff like that. And,
mm,
mm,
difficulty in a classroom setting, or even extension kids,
yeah.
Kids who need that bit of extra to keep them motivated and keep them going, and are high achievers. Online learning could be perfect for them, and depending on their learning style, of course. But yeah, it's where we're heading, I really think. And in the McCrindle report, there were, I think it was 2 in 5, or around 50% of the participants, of the people who were surveyed, indicated, or teachers that were surveyed, indicated that they felt that it wouldn't be long before potentially half of our schooling experience will be online. I can see that happening.
Wow.
You know, I really can. I can see it developing into that. The importance of the classroom teacher and a classroom setting will never go away, but offering kids opportunities to potentially engage with an expert like you online. It might be a writing group. Yeah, that's you, Josh. It might be a talented writing group in the school that might be able to engage face to face with a teacher in Western Australia. It's brought us all closer together, hasn't it?
I think it has, and it's created a diversity of ideas and ways of actually delivering the content, and as you said, personalised content. And I think that can help kids who may have been struggling, or as you said, kids who are overachievers and are not being held back in the classroom, but just don't find their own space. Where do you think the role is for children's authors in this space? In this space of e-learning and online stuff, where do you think, where's our role?
Our role is to make sure we're continuing to create awesome books for the kids. That's our number one role, and creating a diverse collection of great content for them to continue on into their futures. And one of those things that we will have to adjust to, which we've been talking about, is making sure we're backing up our manuscripts with audiovisual presentations and all the material that goes with that, like creating trailers. And
can I quote you? Do you mind if I quote you? Because I love this quote. Being a great writer or illustrator is no longer enough. Our capacity as writers and illustrators to adapt and present ourselves as capable in the digital world is more important than ever. That's, as you said, creating trailers, websites, actively involved on social media, online interviews, videos of your creative process, all that sort of stuff. That is now so integral as part of the role of being a children's author.
Yes, absolutely. And they're the sorts of things that you can build into your website to attract teachers and children to your website to have a look at. Oh, there's the author reading some of their book. Oh, look, there's the illustrator and how they created the illustrations. I mean, that's fascinating information and really great stuff for teacher librarians to use in their library sessions as well.
Oh, that's good to know.
I left, what is it, 3 or 4 years ago now, I gave up being a teacher librarian. But at that point, more and more trailers were coming out. It was becoming a thing. I was looking for content to show children how an author and illustrator create this book. What do they do? Oh, okay. You know, and that's the important thing for kids to understand. The work that goes in the background, the writing of the story, the editing of the story, understanding that when the teacher writes all over my work, it's not bad. You know, I'm learning from my mistakes. Yeah.
Mistakes are magnificent.
Yes, that's exactly right. So that kind of content is really valuable, and that will engage the kids. So a teacher could open up their session with, oh, look at this wonderful trailer. What do you think is going to happen in this book? Then let's look at the cover. Let's read the story. Now let's talk to the author and illustrator about how they created this book. They could Zoom you up and have a chat with you about it. How cool would that be?
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be those 45-minute sessions or an hour or whatever it is. It might be, let's have a quick Q&A with the author. And this kind of technology now that we're using right today has allowed those opportunities, and I think that's really cool.
Oh, definitely.
Motivating.
I mean, I've got a Zoom incursion with a school up in the Kimberley next week, and I'm really looking forward to that, because I can just do this and have the kids one side and do sort of what I would normally do, you know, in school in a physical incursion. Slightly different, but the fact that I can still do that anywhere in Australia is like brilliant. That's something that it makes me go, I can still what I love, which is the interacting with the kids and being a bit silly and giving the story behind my books and all that sort of stuff. And the fact that I can do it over Zoom from the comfort of my own office. So I don't actually, you know, have to, I mind you, I do my hair, so at least I make myself presentable. But what is the minimum that you think? Because look, the idea of just writing a kid's book, sending it to a publisher and just sitting back doing nothing, that's gone. That doesn't happen anymore. What do you think is the minimum that an author needs to build their platform with?
The minimum. The minimum. Wow.
Okay, maybe. Okay, let's change it around, because I know that you do a lot of you're a publishing consultant with Big Sky Publishing, so you see a lot of what authors are doing, and also you're actually doing it yourself, but you're also recommending. So what do you recommend a children's author has as part of their author platform?
Yeah, I believe we need a website. We need a Facebook page. There's Instagram. Some people also using Twitter. Any of the social media platforms that you feel comfortable with. But I think Facebook and Instagram are the big ones for authors, or children's authors. We need to be developing collections of videos. YouTube. A lot of kids are getting information now from YouTube, not Google.
That's one thing you mentioned in your little summary, was that kids just go, well, why do I want to read about it when I can watch it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's what we're competing with as creators of books. But if you have the content there that attracts them to your book, and you do some really cool things with that, well, you know, they're going to go, oh, there's that great book. Maybe I should read that one. And so we attract them in that way. So making sure you've got a YouTube collection of videos out there that could be talking about writing and what you do.
And they can be embedded onto your website too, can't they? Because that's what I've got.
They can be embedded on your website. Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, Josh, I was actually going to say, I'm going to turn this around on you if I can. I'm going to turn it around because I really feel that Josh Langley is a perfect example of someone who has pivoted and has been adapting to this change for quite some time. So Josh, I'm going to ask you the question. What have you done? What have you done? I look at your website, how awesome and attractive it is. And so tell us about the decisions you've made. Is that okay?
Yeah, look, that's fine. That's fine. Put me on the spot. I'm so scared. No, Allison, I think it was by necessity. And I think for a lot of authors, it was, I mean, look, I was wanting to do some of this stuff anyway, like make more videos. But you know what? In the normal world, time gets away with you and whatever. But when COVID hit and all the bookings got cancelled for the launch of Magnificent Mistakes, when they got cancelled, and of course there goes my income as well, because you know most of those gigs are all paid gigs, and then I was just watching what was happening with other authors, you know, not just kids authors, and what they were doing. I saw them going, okay, well, let's do Zoom, let's make YouTube videos, and everything was going online. And I thought, okay, I've got to do that, otherwise I'll be falling behind. And so, and because sometimes you go, how do I do this? What do I do? I don't know. It's still too hard. But it's actually not. And I realized how simple it was. It's like doing this Zoom chat. All I do is just bring up Zoom, hit record, and we've got it. And that's how it works. So that's why I recorded my videos and my YouTube channel for kids. I just read bits out of my books. I can't read the full book because at 100 pages, I'll be there forever. So I pick up short snippets because I know that kids have short attention spans, because I've got a short attention span. And so
Are you Generation Alpha?
I think it might be. with a grey goatee. But anyway, so I knew I had to do that. But then again, I thought, okay, I've done that. And then how else do I get out there? And that was, okay, how do I incorporate all this into my website? And I've just got a basic WordPress website that has, I upgraded it, I think, for about another $5 a year or something to be have more functionality. So I could actually embed YouTube videos. I could put more content on, have more pages and stuff like that. So I did that just to make sure. So if a teacher or a parent went to it, they can go, oh, okay, it's not just the book. I can get the book because I put a PayPal section there as well. People can buy the book like a signed copy. They could watch the kids' videos. And then I thought, well, how else can I engage with the community, especially with parents and educators? Because obviously kids don't buy kids' books. It's the parents that buy kids' books, and it's the teachers that buy kids' books for schools and stuff like that, or librarians. And I thought, okay, why don't I start a chat show where I talk to educators and people in the mental and emotional wellness field for kids? And so I thought, well, okay, I'll start a chat show. So I did, and it's just simple as doing this. I had this microphone sitting around because my husband was doing some voiceover work. So I just went, and he stopped doing that. So I was just sitting here, and I thought, okay, plug this into the laptop, and away you go. And I couldn't believe how simple it was. And there it was. I've got my own chat show. I've got the YouTube channel for kids, and now I'm actually developing an online course based on my books that I'm going to then promote to families and parents, and mostly later on to schools and stuff like that. But it's a sense of urgency. I feel this sense of urgency to actually get into this online space, because otherwise you're going to be left behind, and you can't rely on just, here's my book, I'm going to ring up a school, try and get an incursion or anything like that, because all that's really changed now. So you've got to be so proactive, and it is tiring, because you're constantly going, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? What contacts do I need to make? But once you get that momentum going and you've actually occupied your space, then people start coming to you. And I find that absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, well done, Josh, and you've done an amazing job of it. And there's something else that you've on the front page of your website, you've got some activity sheets there for the kids as well. Yes. You know, that's the kind of thing that parents are looking for. That, oh yeah, I can, particularly when in those moments when we do get locked down, and then potentially, how long is that going to last for? We don't know. It can. And look, we've got a bit of a scare up here on the Sunshine Coast as of yesterday. Oh, you know, we could shut down again. Who knows? You just don't know. And so being prepared for those moments and being able to go, well, here's all my stuff. Here's some gear for the kids. Here's some activity sheets. You do things like hang on a sec.
Nope, Allison's disappeared. No, there she is.
Cameron McIntosh.
Oh, yep. Max Booth. Yep.
Yeah, Max Booth, that series. Cameron's got some really funny videos on his YouTube channel, Max Booth Videos, news reports on what's happening in the world of Max Booth. You know, you get creative and just think about those things. And for authors, have a look at Cameron, have a look at Josh. There's Elisa Darlinson, another Big Sky author who's doing some great things, and Michelle Worthington as well.
Great authors, great books.
Good things. Jane Smith has developed her own Carly Mills website as well. So looking at what people are doing in the space, and you know, you don't have to march to the beat of someone else's drum, but you know, think about what your book can achieve, what elements of that
and be inspired by what other people are doing. That's what I do. All I do, I don't reinvent the wheel. I just look at, oh, okay, someone's done a video of their book where they've, you know, put some graphics in or something like that. I go, well, how do they do that? What do I do? And then I go, okay, well, I need to get upgrade a video editing program. So I just bought a video editing program for my laptop here, and I could instantly put little graphics up. And I can make my own book trailer now. And it's just observing what's around and being inspired by other people, and then incorporating that into your own thing and improving your skill set. And that's the other thing. You know, I see so many people go, oh, I don't think I could edit videos. I can't, you know, I'm not technologically minded. I'm not either, but it's just constantly just giving it a go, trying, practice. Practice makes progress, Allison.
Absolutely. And
You know?
that fear of not being able to do something, I think we've got to have a little bit of courage in these
Mm,
moments, I think, because they're the things that will all of a sudden you'll be left behind.
yeah.
And pushing yourself to learn the new technologies is a really important skill, and just going, no, I can do this. I can YouTube it and get the information.
Yes. YouTube was
And work
brilliant.
out
Like,
how to
just type in how to do this,
yeah,
this, this, and this, and all
yeah,
the videos are there.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant resource. But it's also,
yeah,
I find a lot of people go, I'm just a kids author. I don't know, I'm not an educator, or I don't know how to create educational content. Like, that's what I thought about doing the colouring in. I've got, Graham the Giraffe and a few other characters from the book. And I thought,
yeah,
what do I do? And I just saw someone else had colouring in things. I went, what do I do? Okay, I'll
yeah.
just get the illustration, take the colour out of it, put the logo or website address on the bottom, put it into a JPEG, put it up on the
Yeah.
website, put the link on the Facebook page, you go, bang, colouring in competition. Go.
And how hard was that?
Easy.
It
Easy.
wasn't it? Exactly. But you see, and they're the sorts of things I feel that publishers will want to know that you're capable of doing. So when if you're submitting a manuscript, I think it's important to indicate, perhaps in your covering letter, the sorts of things that you will do to be able to promote this book. I don't think there's anything wrong with being upfront and saying, I can do these things.
Mm,
I can create a trailer, which is, a 1-minute trailer, which will engage the kids. I have my own Josh Langley Magnificent Mistakes website, or whatever you want to.
mm, mm.
I have all this collateral. I think
Yes.
publishers call it. I can do videos of my writing process, all the sorts of things that you can do. What connections you have in social media in terms of who is going to, who can you send your book to for
Mm,
reviews, for
mm,
sharing, because that's another really important element as well in this new world of social media. And no, not new, that's not new, but it's
mm.
becoming more and more important to have those reviews and to get them out there as well.
And I think you're right, because you have to partner with your publisher. You can't just have the publisher do everything and then they work with the distributor, then they get into bookshops. You really have to show that you are capable and you have an arsenal of material to support your book. And that's what
Mm,
makes it, because I know that as soon as you send a manuscript to a publisher, they're going to Google you and they're going to know what
mm,
your social media presence is like. They want to know what's on your website, and they want to know, and
mm,
if there's no presence, they're going to go, are they going to be a strong candidate? Sure, you may have a fantastic book and they may take you up, but the thing is, having a strong social media presence, a good website, all that sort of stuff will tip you over the line. Am I right as a publishing consultant?
you are right. Yep, you are absolutely right. I don't I don't assess manuscripts in any way. But I do know how important
Mm,
that is to the marketing team,
yep.
and it is a factor that will
And I
be
think
taken into
that's one of the
account.
key. I know a lot of authors do know about how the whole publishing system works, but a lot of the newbies don't understand the idea of the marketing behind a book
Mm,
that is so important. And it's not just marketing to bookshops; it is marketing promotion to libraries, to schools, to
mm,
education places. And the more that they've got to sell you and your book, it makes it so
mm.
much easier, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's exactly right. It's very, very important, and I'm not saying that. I mean, you could have written the next Harry Potter series, and you might be so introverted you don't even turn the computer on. It's like, no, don't let me near social media. I'm not saying that person's never going to get published, but because maybe that work is so great that it
Mm,
will get over the line. But look, let's increase our chances, as there are so many aspiring writers out there. To be ahead of the game, I think you need to be thinking about these things and ensuring that whatever you have created is backed up
mm.
by that that collection of audio-visual collateral that you can pull out and say, look, this is what I am capable of doing. And it might be that it's the neighbour's kid who helps you out, or your grandson, or whoever it might be.
Yeah.
But it's important.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Now I'm going to ask you, what do you think the future is like for the Generation Alpha? Like, scoot 20 years ahead, maybe 15 years ahead. You know, do you think? I mean, obviously, it's going to be very different to what it is now. But how different do you think it's going to be?
You know what, Josh? I can't tell you this story. I grew up in the age of the Jetsons, when the whole idea of talking to someone and seeing their face at the same time was just like, oh, you know. But you know what's next? It's going to be the cars that just hover. That'll be our next thing, I reckon.
I reckon we should have had that 20 years ago. I've been waiting for hover cars.
Yeah. But look, you know, we can't. The mind boggles when you think of what could be next. Really, what is out there, and you know, things like accessing our bank accounts on our phones and paying everything in that way. What happens next after that? What's the next technology after that? How are we going to be doing it?
A direct brain implant.
Yeah.
And I don't want that.
Voice activated technology. You know, all of those things. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like. But it's really important for us to be adapting to that all the time. If you want a future in that existence, you can't bury your head in the sand and say, that's just too much. I need to keep trying.
Have you read this book?
No, I haven't.
This Nova Harare, he's basically, in this book, he talks about the future of education. And I'm going to mostly summarize it really, really badly. But what he was saying in there, that because the future is going to be so dictated by AI, machine learning, all this new emerging technology that, you know, 15 years, 20 years time, there will be jobs that we don't even know of yet. And a lot of the ones that we are relying on, the jobs that school is training for people now won't exist. So one of the things that he says, the future of education should be teaching adaptability, teaching resilience, teaching emotional wellness, all those things, so you can adapt. So kids now can adapt and can change. And that's what I'm going to go back to the Generation Alpha. On the report here, it said that the Generation Alpha compared to Generation Z, they were saying that 64% of Generation Alpha are more likely to actually persist with a task and not give up. Whereas Generation Z will go, can't be bothered, bored now, move on, and just give up. So I think that gives us hope for today's kids, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. And one of the reasons I think for that is that our Australian curriculum now does ask us to ensure that the social and emotional well-being of kids is a very important element in the curriculum. So teachers are being more aware of that and embedding it in what they do on a daily basis. And I think that's been a valuable thing. And I also think parents are more aware of it now. When you think about the self-help type material that's out there, and recognising that that it's so important to have awesome books like yours, Josh, in the hands of children that will make them feel good about themselves, and to understand that that even though there might be a sense of isolation sometimes, and the McCrindle report talks a lot about that as well, about loneliness. There's an increase in loneliness, and we have things like online bullying, which is I mean, obviously a dreadful thing.
Yeah, it's another big topic altogether, isn't it?
Yeah, that it is, and they're the things we have to overcome. But educators are very aware of all this, and it is a positive thing that we're incorporating, embedding this into our curriculum.
Yeah. No, I think that is good. That is good. So actually, what we're doing, we're setting up our kids now have that adaptability later on. Sure, you've got to teach the core STEM subjects and the arts. The arts are so important. Let's keep teaching the arts. But it's also that adaptability and all that. That is really good. That warms my heart. Now, Allison, what are you working on at the moment? What projects have you got coming up?
I'm working on the second book in the hang on, I'll just get the it's the book down the bottom of the pile, Josh.
See, I sprung it on you, didn't I?
You did. I'm working on the second book in this series, the Australia Remembers series. So this one is a non-fiction book, very much based on curriculum.
Yep.
So Answer Day, Remembrance Day, local war memorials. And
now, was that book shortlisted for an ABI or?
No, that was this one.
That was Anzac Sons.
My children's version. Yeah, it's got a sticker. It's got a sticker, which was good. But,
I must admit, it is nice to have a sticker on your children's book, isn't it?
Yeah, look. There's a sticker on a children's book. It means a lot to have a sticker.
Bless your cotton socks, Allison. So you got the sequel to that coming out?
Yes, I have. And then I'm also working on a picture book, which is a little bit of a change for me. My picture books have always been based on family. All of my books can be connected back to family. So I had Granny's Place with the awesome Shane McGrath, amazing illustrator, and Sharing Time. Okay. And they're the books I take into primary schools and chat about most. And this time, my book is more about the future, and it's based on sustainability and the environment. And
see, I reckon that whole environmental thing has gotten so lost with COVID-19. We still need to keep bringing it back and bring it to the forefront. So that's brilliant that you're going to be bringing out a book about that next year.
Yeah. And what about you, Josh? What are you working on? What's your next project?
Well, thank you for asking. My next book is the Be Wildly Kind book. So it's about kindness. That's going to come out hopefully May sometime next year. But that also touches on environmental issues as well. So I think it's good that we're all bringing these topics back up again and making them front and center, because I think it can be so easily lost. And that this generation of kids now are so overwhelmed by COVID and all that stuff, and the emotional and mental effects of that our poor environment just gets left behind, and everyone forgets about it. And I don't want that to happen, because our connection to nature is one of the most important things. And that's what we should be reminding kids about. Yeah,
absolutely. So yes, I'm really looking forward to seeing this next book in your series. It'll be lots of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully it has a much easier launch than Magnificent Mistakes did this year. Anyway, so what's the most important thing that you think people should focus on or to remember about life?
Oh, Josh, do you know what? I think this changes from time to time for me. Yeah, but I won't get into the reasons for that. But I think it's to believe in yourself and to surround yourself with people who believe in you. You know, all those naysayers. They can be the fringe dwellers, but to also share. When you love the people around you, share your belief in them with them, because I think that's one of the most powerful gifts that you can give to anybody. And I think that is such an important thing to be able to talk to your family in that way, and your friends. Yeah,
I love that. Surround yourself with the people that make you feel good, that fill you up, that just are going to lift you up. I think that's a brilliant thing, and believe in yourself. That is so important, and that's something that's a beautiful thing to leave on. Now, just quickly, if people want to find out more about the McCrindle report and what we've been talking about, I've written the website down here, and I don't know what I've done with it. Empoweringeducationfuture.com.au.
Yes, that's easy. Yep. That sounds good.
I'll put it down at the bottom of the screen so people can get their own access to it and do their own research and stuff like that. But Allison Paterson, thank you so much for being with me and for discussing this really important topic. And I think the future's looking good. I'm really, really feeling good about stuff.
we have reasons to be positive, even though there are gloomy moments at the moment. We just, we need to look ahead and keep forging forward, I think, and focus on that end game, and believe in yourself, Josh.
Beautiful thing to end on. Thanks, Allison.
Okay, thanks for inviting me on your show, Josh. It was nice to chat.
Excellent, thank you. Hi, thank you very much for watching the latest episode of Josh Langley Gets to Know. Got any questions, whether you want to say whether you liked it, you didn't like the interview, and like my hair's too grey or something like that, post a comment below. I won't get upset, okay? Now, gratuitous plug here. If you want to grab my books, Being You Is Enough, Okay to Feel the Way You Do, or Magnificent Mistakes, or all three, just go to my website at joshlangley.com.au, because it's about trying to change the world one book at a time, helping one kid just to feel good about who they are and feel good in their own skin. If we can just help one child, then they may help another child, then another one, then another one, and then that's how we slowly change the world. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next episode.